Konnichiwa, everyone. I hope your day is going well. I'll tell you about the story of Doraemon and the chaotic school trip. Let's get right into it. The big day had finally arrived. Nobita's class was headed off on their long-awaited school trip. Everyone was buzzing with excitement, but as usual, Nobita was feeling a little overwhelmed. "Nobita, are you ready for the trip?" Shizuka asked, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. "I don't know, Shizuka," Nobita said, nervously glancing around. "Jian and Sunio are already planning to make this trip. Wild. I just have a feeling something's going to go wrong." Doraemon, who had been calmly reading a book in the corner, glanced up. "Don't worry, Nobita. It'll be fine. Nothing's going to go wrong. Probably." But the moment they arrived at the bus stop, chaos erupted. Jian and Sunio, as expected, immediately started competing to see who could get the best seat on the bus. They were arguing so loudly that even the teacher, Ms. Yuko, had trouble getting everyone's attention. "I call the front seat!" John bellowed, elbowing Sunio out of the way. "No way, John! I'm the class leader! The front seat is mine!" Sunio shot back, pushing John into the aisle. "Enough, you two!" Ms. Yuko scolded, but it was too late. The bus was already filled with shouting, pushing, and scrambling for seats. Nobita, trying to avoid getting caught in the madness, ended up in the very last seat next to Doraemon, who was quietly munching on a snack. "See what I mean?" Nobita sighed, slumping in his seat. "This trip is going to be a disaster." "Relax, Nobita," Doraemon said between bites. "It's just the beginning. Things will calm down once we get there." The trip to the destination was no less chaotic. John and Sunio continued their rivalry in the back of the bus, loudly debating who would make the best trip leader, while Shizuka tried her best to read a book, occasionally giving them exasperated looks. By the time they reached the park, things were already off to a rocky start. Ms. Yuko had to practically drag the students off the bus, as the boys were too busy debating whether to race to the entrance or play pranks on each other. Once they finally made it inside, the real trouble began. "Okay, class, let's split into teams and start the scavenger hunt," Ms. Yuko announced, trying to restore some order. "Remember, this is about teamwork, so let's all stay together and follow the rules." But of course, that was too much to ask. The moment the hunt began, Jian and Sunio were off, each trying to collect all the items as quickly as possible, completely ignoring the rules. They were sprinting around, knocking into other students, grabbing whatever they could find, sometimes even taking things from other groups. Nobita, trying his best to follow along without causing any trouble, found himself trapped in the middle of the chaos. As he wandered through the park, he accidentally stumbled into a fountain, completely soaking himself. "Doraemon!" Nobita called out in desperation. "This is a nightmare!" Doraemon appeared beside him, looking completely unfazed. "You know, Nobita, maybe we should just sit this one out and enjoy the view. I think it's safer that way." But before Nobita could reply, he heard a loud crash. John and Sunio had collided while racing to find the last scavenger item, a rubber duck. Now both were covered in mud, arguing over who was responsible for knocking over a kiosk. "This is ridiculous!" John shouted, shaking his fist. "You totally messed up the race." "Me? You're the one who tackled me!" Suneo yelled back, pulling mud out of his hair. Nobita sighed, watching the chaos unfold. "This isn't what I thought the trip would be like. It's like everything is falling apart." Just then, Shizuka, who had been trying to take photos for the class album, got caught in the madness. She was knocked over by a stray soccer ball that John had kicked, sending her tumbling into a bush. "Shizuka!" Nobita shouted, rushing to help her up. "Ugh, I'm fine," Shizuka muttered, brushing herself off. "But can't we just have one peaceful moment today?" It seemed like the entire park had turned into one big disaster zone. At some point, the students had started a massive water fight, using anything they could find. Buckets, hoses, even water bottles. Water splashed everywhere, drenching everyone in sight. Jian was busy throwing water balloons, while Suneo was hiding behind a tree, plotting his next move. In the midst of all this, Doraemon suddenly pulled out a gadget. Nobita, I think it's time we take this trip to the next level. What do you mean? Nobita asked. But before he could react, Doraemon activated the gadget, and the ground beneath them shook. Suddenly, a giant inflatable slide appeared out of nowhere, towering over the park. The students stopped in their tracks, staring in awe at the huge, colorful structure. Is that a slide? John shouted, his eyes lighting up. It's massive! Last one down is a rotten egg! Without hesitation, the entire class rushed towards the slide, shoving and pushing each other along the way. The chaos only escalated as they all took turns sliding down, splashing into the pool at the bottom, then scrambling to get back in line. Nobita, feeling completely exhausted by the madness, turned to Doraemon. I thought things would calm down, but this is just getting worse. Doraemon grinned. Well, sometimes chaos is just part of the fun. Besides, who needs peace and quiet when you can have this kind of adventure? By the time the school trip finally ended, everyone was covered in mud, soaked to the bone, and out of breath. Ms. Yuko, though exasperated, couldn't help but laugh at how unpredictable the day had been. As they piled back into the bus, Jian and Suneo were still arguing about who had won the water fight, while Shizuka and Nobita tried to dry off. The trip had been nothing like what Nobita had expected, full of chaos, confusion, and lots of accidents. But in a way, that's what made it memorable. Next time, Nobita said, looking out the window with a weary smile, maybe we should just stay home. Agreed, Doraemon said with a chuckle. But then there wouldn't be any stories to tell, right? Did you enjoy this chaotic adventure? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more Doraemon short stories. What school trip would you always remember? Let us know in the comments below. You are kind. Thank you for your support. Sayonara.